Hi, YouTube world. Talk about in your face, right? I'm driving. So, yeah, I'm a little goofy sometimes. My son, he's like, Mom, don't embarrass me. You're embarrassing me. Stop it. But, okay, so I've been trying to make a video for days about my experience. I don't tell too many people this, but I've always wanted to tell my story. I've always wanted to write my story. I'm still thinking about sitting down and writing it. But I was in state's custody off and on from the age of 9 to 17 years old. I was emancipated when I was 17, and I was declared a legal adult, and I went on my happy little self and put myself in college and got a degree, got a career, and did everything right, and somehow my life still became a mess. That's another story. But what I would like to share with you guys right now is a story about a place called Maplewood. Now, I have some documents I want to show you guys concerning this. But I have to, I have to mark out my last name, and I have to mark out addresses and other names on the documents. So I've been working on that so I can show you all what an actual child abuse report looks like. I have my child abuse reports. I can show that to you guys. But the story I want to share with you right now, it happened when I was 11 years old. I had already been taken out of the home previous to this incident, and I was sent back home with my mom, and we were doing pretty good. There was an incident at school where I had showed up at school with some bruises on my face. And when the teacher asked where I got the bruises, I told the teacher that my mom punched me. Well, the next day I hadn't showed up at class. I didn't show up at school. And the school was actually told by the telephone company that our phone was off the hook. Back then, they could actually do that. I think they can still do that now with a landline. If they could tell whether you're on the phone talking to somebody or whether it's just off the hook. And my mom had a habit, when she didn't want to be bothered, she would just take the phone off the hook. So CPS showed back up at the house, and they removed me, and they put me in a group home called Maplewood. I was 11 years old. I was at Maplewood for quite a lengthy time. I'd say about 8 or 9 months. I went to public school from there. It was in the same county that I lived, that me and my mom were from. So I lucked out and actually got a placement at a group home in the same county where me and my mom were from. So my mom could visit me easily, and I was still able really, just to see my family because I was close to my family. They got visitation. My grandparents would come and see me. But Maplewood, let's get back to Maplewood. So I was in Maplewood. I was 11 years old, and they had a lot of kids there. And I've drawn a picture for you guys to show you the layout of this place, where the kids slept, where the babies slept, where the nursery was. They had babies there. They had toddlers there. They had kids all the way up to about 13, 14, 15 there at this group home. So, and I actually think that Maplewood is not just a group home. It's also considered a drop-in shelter for homeless kids, for troubled kids. So, I love to play with the babies and help take care of the babies. I would always, want to feed them and rock them and play with them. And, I was that kind of girl. I loved playing with the little kids. I liked making them happy and showing them attention and help getting them dressed and help bathing them. Now, at this group home that I was in, we had what's called house parents. And the house parents, I would say there were anywhere from about 3 to 4 house parents on shift, each shift, taking care of approximately, 25, 30 kids. So the house parents would come in, and the shift would change every morning, and we would have different house parents in the evening than we would have in the daytime. We would have a night shift and a day shift house parent. So, after a while, I started getting called out and reprimanded for going in the nursery at night and coddling the babies. I was told that they needed to cry themselves to sleep, that I was not to go in the nursery after bedtime and mess with the babies. But they cried all night and I couldn't stand it. So I would sneak in the nursery and hold them and rock them and play with them. And I would get caught all the time. And, that's the truth of it. So one night I was in my bed. I had already been called out for being in the nursery once. And I was laying there and I couldn't sleep. I had already been told that night to go back to my room and go to bed. At least once, I remember that. And, this baby kept screaming his head off. I mean, there's a difference between a baby's cry when a baby just needs to be changed or is hungry. This cry I heard that night was an excruciating, painful cry, and I couldn't stand it no more. So I got up, I snuck down the hall, I snuck into the nursery, and I remember when I opened the door, the first thing I laid eyes on was this little black boy. He was about, I'd say, 13, 14 months old. He was crawling. He was at the crawling stage, trying to stand up and learning to walk stage. And he was in his crib, and he was standing there holding onto his crib, jumping up and down, screaming, crying, and had blood all over him. I ran over to him, picked him up, and that's when I realized that he had been bitten all over. And that's when I looked down and seen the other baby in his crib. What happened was, these cribs were so close together, another baby climbed in his crib and bit him all up and down his arms and legs. And when I say bit him, I mean there was chunks missing out of this child. Still to this day, I wonder what happened to that little boy. I picked him up. I ran down the hall with him. I got night staff's attention. They called an ambulance. And it was the EMTs that finally took that little boy out of my arms. I would not let him go. At that point, he was already attached to me anyway. I was like a big sister to him. I was a constant thing in his life. I didn't leave and go home. I was there every day. So he knew me well. He did not want to let go of me, and I did not want to let go of him. But seeing the circumstances, they told me I was not allowed to go to the hospital with him. So they took that little boy to the hospital, and he never came back to Maplewood. I never found out what happened to him. I asked several times, and all they would tell me was that he was fine and that he would be okay. That's all they ever would tell me. Now, the baby that did it, I want to say, now, this might not be right because it's been so long ago. This is something that happened, I'm 43. So this happened when I was 11. So this was over 30 years ago, guys. So, the babies that were there that I can remember, they had a set of twins, a little boy and a little girl that were little, around the same age as that little boy. And I want to say it was one of the twins that gotten in his crib and did this to him. But I'm not quite sure because my memory just, is kind of foggy on that. But that's what happened. And that's a true story. And, I want to reiterate that there are good people in these group homes that care about kids. They're there to help kids. They would never let a baby lay there and scream its head off all night. But back then, these night shift people that worked at this group home, that's what they did. They did not care. They let the babies cry all night. And It was tough. It was really tough. Now, from my recollection, the night shift person that was working that night did get fired over that. There would have to be some kind of paper trail about this incident. I'm assuming that this child that this happened to has still got the scars up and down his arms. And I would love to meet that person today. You know, I would love to, as an adult, run into that baby and know that, you know, that's that person standing in front of me, that's who that baby was, you know, and they're okay. Because in my mind as a little kid, the last time I seen them, they were screaming, crying, missing parts of their arm, getting sent off in an ambulance. So that's just one story I have for you all. Things that I witnessed or things that happened to me when I was in state's custody. Guys, there's so many homeless people out here, it's ridiculous. I give what I can. I do. But daggone, there's a lot of them, and it's cold out here. And I do believe the road is getting a little slick. It's raining. But that's what happened. I stayed at Maplewood for a while after that. Eventually, I was either sent to another placement or sent back home. I have my juvenile file. I'm going to show it to you guys later, and you'll see what I'm talking about. It's very thick file. It's a very thick file. I'm going to sit down and try to put all the paperwork in order by year, by date, and try to go through my file and, you know, write down where I was, when I was there, what year I was there. Just a little background info real quick. I'm talking about places in Kentucky like Holly Hill, Mash, Homeward Bound, Maplewood, Rivendell, Ramey East Step, which is a boys' home. But there's a Ramey East Step for girls that I was in years ago. Oneida is in Barberville, and I was there when I was 9 years old. And it's a Baptist-run group home for children. Oneida is, and they're very strict. You have to wear dresses if you're a girl. It's very, I'd say it's more Pentecostal based than Baptist, but they're listed as Baptist. But I grew up Pentecostal, and they have a lot of the Pentecostal ways at Oneida. When we get in trouble at Oneida, we have to write sentences or bend over and take a licking. Yeah, that's how strict they were. You got up every morning, put your church clothes on, put your skirt on or your dress on. You went to church every day. Then we went to school. Then we worked. We worked our butts off. Yard work, lots of it. I'm talking old-fashioned push mowers that you push them and they turn. You know, I'm not talking about gas-powered mowers. They put us kids to work at Oneida. I remember. I might have been little, but I remember. So yeah, I was there. The only Oneida I know is in Barberville, Kentucky, and I ran away from there. I was 9 years old. Matter of fact, the gentleman who picked me up when I ran away had one leg. And I got in the car with him. And thankfully, he was a good man, and he took me straight to the police station. And the police called my family, and I told my family, I'm not going back to that Oneida place. I don't care if y'all put me in juvenile detention. I'm not going back there. And I can't remember if they made me go back. It's been so long ago, but it seems like I didn't have to go back. And I do remember them letting me walk away from Oneida. They let me leave. Like, I was like, I'm gonna run away. And they said, them doors are locked to keep people out, not to keep people in. If you want to leave, there's the door. And I took off walking down the street, 9 years old. True story. Kid you not. I remember that. Yep. I actually have some family in Corbin. And I think what happened back then was the police called my aunt in Corbin, and she came and got me, and I went home with my family in Corbin from Oneida. I think that's what happened. Like I said, I've got my file. I haven't sat down and went through all of it, It's a very extensive file, and it brings back a lot of memories that I'm not, really trying to remember. It's like something I'm procrastinating on, and, I dread thinking about some of these things, because being in juvenile detention, being in group homes, foster homes, drop-in centers like MASH is a drop-in center for homeless teens. It's not a fun place to be. MASH was one of my favorite places, though. MASH was a pretty cool place. But I have a story about that place, too. Yeah, not even going to get into that right now, but yeah, that's my story from Maplewood. Maplewood is actually in Boone County, Kentucky, near Florence, just outside of Florence, Kentucky. Anyway, okay, I gotta go in here, Kroger, and get some groceries. All right, talk to y'all later.